I'm excited to welcome back to Direction Not Perfection, Dr. Sherry Price, pharmacist and certified life and weight loss coach. Welcome, Sherry.
Thanks, Lindsay. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, me too. I want to pick your brain on all things menopause. We were kind of finishing up on this menopause series, and I love getting different professionals' advice. We've had doctors and regular individuals, and then a pharmacist and a dietitian. It's interesting to see little different touches and tastes, but then yet everyone's saying the same thing, which always resonates in my mind is like, this is real. This is like this next level of what we don't believe our listeners are hearing enough of. And we want them to resonate and go, oh yeah, me too. And some of the things that I want to just throw out there, and then I'm going to hand over the mic and you talk all about it. But mentioning in menopause that sometimes anxiety can bump up and sleep habits we struggle with, and how alcohol can play into those sleep habits. And just we're both at the age where we're experiencing it ourselves. Can you kind of just talk about how you have flowed into this phase and what you notice and what you notice your clients saying and just your advice around it?
Yeah, I'd love to. I am so on fire for this topic right now. I am in perimenopause. I am 49, going to be turning 50 this year. So menopause is looming. And when you're in perimenopause, just to define that for your listeners, it's generally 10 to 15 years before you actually hit menopause. That means you'll start to experience symptoms before you actually get to menopause. And one of the big ones was anxiety. My girlfriends and I are talking about, oh my gosh, where's this anxiety? My girlfriend actually has had panic attacks that's taken her to urgent care because she's like, wow, I never had anxiety before. And I just had a panic attack and I have no idea what's causing this. So it's taken us down this beautiful exploration of what is going on inside a woman's body during this time. So we start to lose progesterone slowly and estrogen as well. And the loss of progesterone is what causes us to have abnormal sleep. It fluctuates our sleep cycle as well as anxiety. And so progesterone is this nice molecule that hits the GABA receptors inside the brain that allows us to be calm, more relaxed. And so with less progesterone, our anxiety tends to creep up. And then we get like anxious about little things. We become less stress resilient because of these fluctuations, predominantly in progesterone and estrogen, a little bit in testosterone as well. And becoming less resilient to stress means we're more sensitive to stress. So we might be like thrown off by a little thing. Something just triggers us a little bit more than what used to. Maybe our work day didn't go as we planned, or there's more traffic than we had planned. And we just notice we get a little more hyper or stressed about it than we had been previously. Also, our sleep becomes even wonkier, I find. Cut back on alcohol a lot, but even the two drinks I used to have, I used to still be able to sleep soundly through the night. I'm becoming more sensitive to the effects of alcohol and how it's being metabolized in my body. And so now two drinks doesn't allow me to get good quality sleep. So you just start to notice like food sensitivities or changes to how you metabolize alcohol. These symptoms that start cropping up. And then as you transition into menopause, other things arise. Hot flashes may come, vaginal dryness, all of that is down the line too when we get lower and lower levels of the progesterone and estrogen. One thing I've learned in doing a lot of research is looking into bioidentical hormones to help during this time. So I myself am on a bioidentical progesterone to decrease the anxiety. It helps great with sleep. You may even want to consider bioidentical estrogen because estrogen has so many receptors throughout the body. There are receptors on the brain. So if you start bioidentical estrogen early, you can reduce cognitive decline. There are estrogen receptors in our vasculature. So oftentimes when people hit menopause, they will get high blood pressure. They will start forming more plaques in their arteries because we're not having that level of estrogen and it's declining. So just thinking about protecting your heart. If you go on bioidentical hormones with estrogen, it shows that heart disease is reduced dramatically. I think it's like 50%. So there's just so much going on during this time that it's important to talk about so women know, because we don't get this education. We don't learn so much about menopause. This hasn't been talked about much, even in medical school or pharmacy school. We just get a very short amount of attention that's been put on that. And then nobody's explaining to us exactly all the things. Estrogen is also found in our microbiome. So when we feel like, our microbiome, we're not producing the level of serotonin that gets produced in the microbiome, or our immune system is compromised because our estrogen is declining. Estrogen's also in the skin, so we get more wrinkles and more sagging because of a lack of estrogen. So when women start noticing these effects, it could be alarming, right? If you don't know what's going on inside of you. So there are ways we can delay that or prevent that. And bioidentical hormones can be an option for many, many women.
You are a pharmacist. The other thing that we keep hearing is compound pharmacist. Can you kind of walk us through how someone is even knowing to go seek out progesterone, estrogen, like the right doses, whatnot? And what does compound pharmacist mean versus regular
Yeah.
pharmacist?
Yeah. And so just to tail back onto these bioidentical hormones, these are different than the synthetic. They're different than birth control. Birth control is not bioidentical hormones. Most IUDs are not bioidentical hormones. I didn't know that actually as a pharmacist until I actually started looking it up. But bioidentical hormones are the safe ones, not the synthetic ones. The synthetic ones have been shown to have major downsides and major side effects, like blood clots and all the things that we're worried about. I know a lot of people are worried about breast cancer, but the breast cancer risk from those studies was not actually that much. But with bioidenticals, there's other trials that have been done that shows that they are effective and that they are safe. Now, when it comes to looking for bioidentical hormones, most of the time you have to go to a compounding pharmacy to get those. You can maybe go to your local Rite Aid or CVS or Walgreens, your conventional pharmacy. Some of those may do compounding with bioidenticals, but most of the time I found that they don't. And going to a compounding pharmacy in your area is where you're going to get the exact dose that you need in a formulation that works best for your body. And between you and your doctor, you can decide, because they come in patches and creams and pellets and oral capsules. So there's so many ways, and there's pluses and minuses to the different formulations that you can choose between, but that's a conversation between you and your doctor. So you may find that to get the prescription right for you, you may need a compounding pharmacy to do that.
And that is labeled differently, or like, not to be dumb on this, but I wouldn't even know where to start
Yeah,
on that.
just Google compounding pharmacy in whatever city you live in. And yeah, they're generally a mom and pop kind of place. So Pure Pharmacy, I think, is a chain that's nationwide that they compound. But yeah, you can just Google compounding pharmacy and then just put in your zip code or your city.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate you hashing all that out. Okay,
Yes.
onward, forward to our physical health.
Yeah. So when it comes to aging, anytime we pass 40, this goes for men too, but we start losing muscle mass. And it's estimated about 10% of muscle mass is lost per decade. And then estrogen helps us build muscle. So actually, there's an increase in muscle mass loss when you go through menopause. So one way to prevent that from happening is start lifting weights. Start lifting weights no matter what age you are, because you want to keep that muscle strength, and especially in our upper bodies, right? That's what's going to help us put our luggage over into the overhead compartment when we travel. It's important for our grip strength, right? And that's a measure of longevity. So our grip strength, can we open jars around the house, and how strong and firm is our grip? So doing upper body, I know a lot of women like to do lower body, but don't forget about the upper body muscle strength. And don't worry about becoming too bulky, because that generally can't happen without, doses of testosterone. Women just don't naturally get that bulky unless it's aided in some form or fashion. But really muscle strength and building that muscle so you can support your posture. You can look good as you age and not continue to lose that muscle mass. Speaking of that, so strength training I recommend for women twice a week at a minimum. And then to build muscle, you also need the right macro. And the right macro for that is protein. So you need the amino acids from the protein. So as women age, it's even more important to get more protein. And I think women think they don't need as much as they age, or they should be eating less as they age. And maybe eating less, but certainly gaining more protein, because as we age, we don't absorb the protein as well as we did in our younger years. So, really bumping up that macro is going to become really important to maintaining a body composition that can serve you into your 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's going to prevent frailty. It's going to increase our mobility. It's going to increase our ligaments and our tendons and support our bones. So, there's so many benefits to strength training and then getting in, particularly the macro of protein.
I always think it's interesting too, when we really focus on protein, it kind of adjusts your plate just naturally. That's like a beautiful ripple of think protein first, and then there's not enough room for some of the other stuff that you might be just naturally grabbing for. So
Yes. And
it
it's so
benefits in
satiating.
yes, and the fullness is amazing. It's fiber too. To really focus on fiber and protein, you just can live out your day not starving, which is
Yes.
nice.
And
Yeah.
needing, snacks and munching on things, or having the afternoon crash that we mostly experience when we eat too many refined carbohydrates. You get the high and then you get the crash, and that's no fun. And then you feel like you're stuck in this craving cycle.
Yes. If you could give advice to a woman who maybe doesn't know she's in perimenopause yet, but is suspecting, what would be your gently hand holding them into this season of life?
Yeah, I think it's just important to pay attention to your body. As women, we're so busy catering to others, running the kids here. We're taking care of elder parents. We're problem solvers. We're, stepping up in our careers. There's so much on our plate, but, really tuning in just a little bit each day. Like, how am I feeling? Where's my energy level at? How's my anxiety? Is that, am I sleeping okay? There's devices you can track, but not everybody loves to track, and that's okay. But really, I think taking time to tune in to your body and just notice if it's changing. I mean, body odor changes over time too, which that was interesting to me. So our bodies do change. So I think when we start experiencing some of that, it's time to like investigate and understand if we're going to want to start bioidentical hormones, because you get more benefit the earlier you start, and just replacing some of that. Sometimes women, this is now a common time where their thyroid becomes sluggish and they may need to check out their thyroid. And so are they getting too hot? Are they getting too cold? Are they feeling too sluggish? So we really need to just pay attention to our bodies and then go in and take our bodies for a tune-up, right? I know I love functional medicine doctors because they do additional testing. They test hormones, I found, and they're really knowledgeable about when to use hormones and when not to. So I prefer a functional medicine doctor for myself. And they just give you a lot of ways that you can support your system and when to bring in those modalities. And I think knowledge is key, right? Just understanding what is changing and not fighting the change, not hating the change. Like, here we go. Here's, I need more Botox because here comes the wrinkles, right? But really understanding what we could be doing in our lifestyle and the changes that we want to start making so we can best support our health longer term.
I'm going to pick your professional brain on this too, the whole investigating of hormone levels. And I've kind of heard mixed reviews on this and how some MDs don't like to test hormone levels because they fluctuate so much that on any given minute of a day, let alone any given day, that they can be so up and down. So, what's your opinion on how do you get kind of an accurate reading of testing hormones?
100%. So, most hormones I don't recommend monitoring by blood, and that's a lot of traditional medicine. Conventional medicine is they do a lot of blood work, which is fantastic for many things, but when it comes to hormones, they are sensitive, right? So you have to know when you should be testing. And if you're depending on if you're looking at estrogen, depending if you're looking at testosterone or free testosterone or the precursor of testosterone, which is DHEA, right? So there's a lot. There's a lot. And so I think going to somebody who specializes in hormone therapy is really important because they're going to do the proper testing. The Dutch test is a phenomenal test when you want to look at hormones, and that's dried urine. There could be saliva tests. I know checking even your cortisol, because that's the master of all your hormones, right? So checking your cortisol level. And for a lot of women, it's really high. And so that's going to have steal from progesterone and steal from those other hormones. And that could be, if you're under a lot of stress, that could be the main hormone that's out of whack that you want to get into normal levels. And then from there, the other hormones that come from cortisol downstream, those sex hormones, they will begin to regulate more. So you really want to find what hormone imbalance is going on. And so it's not always just the sex hormones. It could be the thyroid hormone. It could be the cortisol hormone. And so really understanding those levels, and some of them, it's not by blood, it's by dried urine or dried blood or saliva.
Yeah. Saliva. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And definitely, I know that there's kits on the internet, but like having that professional, to your point, functional medicine, somebody who's hand holding you through this, because I can already see people's shoulders going up and like, how, like listening to two professionals talk and you can't, like it sounds overwhelming to be on your own and trying to figure this out would be too much. So you
Yeah.
definitely need the professional with you in this.
Definitely. And I think test, don't guess, right? So I always like to test. That would be a red flag for me if I saw a practitioner and they just wanted to start hormone therapy, but we didn't do any testing. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I become really interested in how my body is working and how my body tested. And so I would want to invest in those tests. So we're testing and not guessing.
Right. And then I've heard like the term cocktail with the hormones, and you started to say this with the compounding too, but like it's going to be very specific to your body how you supplement versus like you just need this much estrogen or this much. It's
Exactly.
very detailed. Yeah.
Yes, it is because they play off each other. So I've been told they play like a symphony. You can't just have one of the instruments playing, right? So if you start to supplement back progesterone, that may impact estrogen or have downstream effects. So you don't want to just pick one because you want to make sure that the whole body is supported.
Yeah. No, that makes so much sense. Let's
Mhm.
do a quick little recap summary. So weightlifting,
Yes.
resistance training. If you've
And if you,
never done it and it,
right.
totally overwhelms you, I think there's some fun to be had in resistance training that women get into the gym. You belong there too. And I know some people are totally on board with that, and other people, it's been their first moment of introduction to doing that. And it's just
Yeah.
cool to see you could be 70 years old and walking into a gym and still building muscle.
It's
That's
awesome.
amazing. It
Exactly.
is.
And if you're shy or intimidated at first, you can buy 10-pound weights at your local Target or go online, have Amazon deliver them, and do 15 minutes to start. Just go to YouTube. There's some great videos for women over 50. You can just Google your age, right? And there comes up with exercises on YouTube that you can do just to get started and to get over some of the initial soreness and feel like, okay, I can do this with 5 pounds or 10 pounds. I definitely recommend going a little heavier because that's what's really going to build the muscle. We're not just looking to maintain muscle when we're over 40. We really need to build it. And that needs to be higher weight. And don't be afraid of higher weight. You're not going to bulk up. What you're going to do is you're going to tone quickly and beautifully. And you're going to maintain that and build that muscle mass. And if you're starting later, right, this is just more reason to get in there or start lifting, even if it's just once a week, and then build up to twice a week. And then if your schedule allows, build up to 3 times a week would be ideal, but definitely twice to start would be my recommendation.
I'm on board as well. And I think that that's that when I saw that in a study years and years ago, it was like, oh, 2 times a week. I mean, that feels 2 times a week for like a 20-minute video. We can actually get benefit. We can do
Mm-hmm.
that, right? That feels,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Okay. So resistance training, protein, you mentioned protein.
Yes, I'd say 1 gram per your ideal body weight. So if you're one away 120, they say 120 grams of protein a day, which is difficult. It's difficult. find that I can't even get that much protein in sometimes. So I just want your listeners to know that just build slowly over time. It might take you months to get to your protein target because you're going to be so
Yes.
satiated and so full, and your body's just getting used to this new style of eating. You're going to be like, wow, I'm at 70 and I'm tapped for today, and that's okay.
Right. And yes, so listen to your body. And Sherry did say your ideal body weight. So you're going off of a lower number than what you might be thinking. And I always just like to put this out there, like depending on medications that you're on, like you want to clear all of this with the physician before you would really up your protein. So just little watch outs. Everybody's body's so different. And we
Yes.
just have to
Yes, and when
not.
women tell me they go too high too quickly, they become constipated. So just notice if you're going too much too fast, and if you're developing constipation. Again, it just takes a shift in your microbiome to catch up with all of this, and so your body to be like, "Oh, this is the new way I'm going to be eating," and to regulate it.
Yes. No, thank you. That's such a good point. Okay. And then just finding our practitioner of choice, somebody that can handhold us through that. I so appreciate you walking us through this. It was perfect summary of the last 3 weeks that has been happening with Menopause Chat and just keeping the conversation flowing. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lindsay. My pleasure.